Hello everyone, and welcome back to GRT Day. I'm your host, and I'm glad you've chosen to spend some of your valuable time with us. Today, I want to talk about something that I believe is a quiet, pervasive source of anxiety for so many of us, especially as we gain more experience in life. It's that feeling, that frustrating gap between the clarity of a thought in your own mind and the jumbled mess that sometimes comes out of your mouth. Have you ever been there? You're in a meeting at work, or maybe you're at the dinner table with your family, and you have a point to make. Inside your head, it's brilliant, it's crystal clear, logical, and compelling. But as you start to explain it, you see the confusion in the other person's eyes. You start to backtrack, you use filler words, you get tangled in your own sentences, and by the end, the powerful idea you had has fizzled into a puff of smoke. You walk away not just feeling misunderstood, but feeling like you somehow failed to represent your own intelligence. This experience is incredibly common in our modern American life. We live in a culture that prizes confidence, clarity, and the ability to articulate your value. From the job interview where you have to sell yourself in 30 minutes, to the performance review where you need to advocate for a raise, to simply trying to explain to a contractor exactly what you want done in your home. Your success often hinges on your ability to translate your internal thoughts into clear external communication. And when we fail to do that, it's easy to fall into a trap of self-doubt. We start to think, maybe I'm just not a good communicator, or I'm just not one of those people who can think on their feet. We treat clear articulation as if it were a natural talent, a gift bestowed upon a lucky few, like being born with perfect pitch or a 7-foot wingspan. But over many years of leading teams, pitching ideas, and frankly, making my own share of messy, confusing statements, I've come to believe that this is a fundamental misunderstanding. Clear communication is not a gift, it is a skill. And more than that, it is a system. It is a set of mechanics that can be learned, practiced, and mastered by anyone, at any age. And today, I want to pull back the curtain on that system. We're going to talk about why so many smart, capable people struggle to express themselves. And I'm going to give you a practical framework, a new way of thinking that will help you articulate your thoughts more clearly than 99% of the people around you. This isn't about learning fancy vocabulary or becoming a slick salesperson. It's about closing that frustrating gap between what you mean to say and what people actually hear. So let's start by digging into the heart of the problem. Why does this gap exist in the first place? It really comes down to two opposing and equally flawed beliefs that most of us hold without even realizing it. On one hand, you have the authenticity camp. These are the people who believe that communication should be purely intuitive and from the heart. They think that planning what you're going to say is somehow dishonest or robotic. They feel that if they just speak their truth openly and spontaneously, the message will naturally land. The problem is, our raw, unfiltered thoughts are rarely organized. Our emotions, our anxieties, our fleeting distractions all get mixed in. So when you just open the tap and let it flow, what you often get is a chaotic stream of consciousness that forces the listener to do all the work of trying to find the point. They might get a sense of your passion, but they'll likely miss your message. On the other hand, you have the intellect camp. These are the people who believe that as long as their words are correct and their logic is sound, they have communicated effectively. They focus entirely on the what, the data, the facts, the vocabulary, and completely ignore the how. They might prepare a detailed, brilliant argument, but they deliver it in a flat monotone, or they speak so quickly that nobody can keep up, or their tone feels so condescending that the listener shuts down before they've even finished the first sentence. They've done the intellectual work, but they fail to do the human work. They send the email, but they don't make the connection. They present the data, but they don't build the trust. They win the argument on paper, but they lose the person sitting across from them. Both of these approaches fail because they operate on a false premise. They assume that communication is a choice between being authentic and being structured, between being emotional and being logical. And this is where so many of us get stuck. We bounce between rambling with passion and reciting facts with no soul, and we wonder why we're not getting through to people. Now, I can already hear the biggest objection that's probably forming in your mind right now. You might be thinking, okay, I get it, but if I start thinking about all these mechanics, my volume, my speed, how I'm pausing, won't I sound like a robot? Won't I lose my personality? My authenticity is all I have. That is a perfectly reasonable question, and it's the most important hurdle to overcome them. And my answer is this: learning the system of communication doesn't make you a robot, it sets you free. Think about a truly great musician, maybe a jazz pianist. When they are on stage improvising a breathtaking solo, are they consciously thinking about every single key they press? Are they thinking, okay, now I will play a C-sharp minor scale followed by a G-dominant 7th arpeggio? Of course not. They are lost in the music, expressing pure emotion. But how did they get there? They got there by spending thousands of hours practicing those very scales and arpeggios until they became so deeply ingrained, so automatic, that they no longer had to think about them. The mastery of the technical foundation didn't stifle their creativity. It became the very language through which their creativity could flow effortlessly. The system of communication works exactly the same way. The goal isn't to be consciously analyzing your every word in the middle of a conversation. The goal is to practice the fundamentals so diligently that they become your new natural baseline. It's about building a better set of instincts. When you do this, you free up your conscious mind from the anxiety of how you're speaking, so you can focus entirely on what you're saying and, more importantly, on the person you're saying it to. This isn't about losing authenticity. It's about removing the static and the noise so that your true, authentic self can be heard more clearly than ever before. It's the third way. It's not about choosing between heart and structure. It's about using structure to give your heart a clearer voice. Let's bring this down to earth with a few examples from everyday American life where we see this play out constantly. Think about a tense conversation about family finances, a reality for so many people dealing with inflation and the rising cost of living. The unstructured, authentic approach often sounds like an emotional outburst. I'm so stressed. We're always spending so much money, and I feel like we're never getting ahead. While the feeling is real, the message is an accusation. It immediately puts the other person on the defensive. The conversation becomes about the emotion, not the problem. Now, imagine that same person taking just 2 minutes to structure their thoughts first. The conversation might start like this: "Honey, I've been feeling worried about our finances lately, and I think it comes down to 2 main things. The grocery bill has gone up almost 30%, and I know we have that big car repair coming up next month. Could we sit down this weekend and look at the budget together to see if we can find a way to plan for it?" Do you feel the difference? The core emotion, the anxiety, is still there, but it's been channeled through a clear, structured message. It's no longer an attack, it's an invitation to solve a problem together. The structure didn't make it less authentic, it made it more effective. Or think about the workplace. A manager giving vague feedback is one of the most common complaints in corporate America. They say something like, "We need you to be more of a team player," or "I need you to show more initiative." The employee walks away confused and demoralized. What does that even mean? What should they do differently tomorrow? But a manager who understands the system of communication would say, I want to help you grow in this role, and a key part of that is taking more ownership. I'd like to see you lead the weekly project update meeting for the next month. This will give you a chance to demonstrate your leadership and understanding of the big picture. How does that sound to you? It's specific, it's actionable, and it ends with a question that invites collaboration. That is the difference between confusing feedback and effective coaching. It's the difference between rambling and leading. So how do we do this? How do we build this system for ourselves? It all starts in a place most people don't expect. It doesn't start with your mouth. It starts with your mind. The absolute, non-negotiable first step to clear communication is clear thinking. You cannot express a thought clearly if you haven't formed it clearly in the first place. Confused thoughts will always produce confused words. This is the bedrock. Before any important conversation, you need to be able to answer one simple question. What is the single most important thing I want this person to understand? Not 10 things, not 5 things, one. What is your single core message? This is what I call your mental blueprint. Once you have that one central point, you can then identify 2 or 3 key ideas that support it. That's it. That's the entire structure. A main point and a few supporting reasons. Let's go back to the job interview. A candidate who hasn't done this mental work will answer the question, "Why should we hire you?" by rambling through their entire resume. Well, I worked at my last company for 5 years, and I was in charge of a lot of projects, and I'm a really hard worker, and my boss said I was great with clients. It's a flood of information that leaves the interviewer trying to piece it all together. But the candidate who has built their mental blueprint will sound completely different. They'll say, "You should hire me for 3 main reasons. First, my 5 years of experience in project management directly align with the core responsibilities of this role. Second, I have a proven track record of increasing client retention by 15%, which I know is a key priority for you. And third, my leadership style is collaborative, which I believe is a great fit for your company culture." See the difference? Organized, confident, and incredibly persuasive. They didn't have more experience, they just structured it more clearly. This simple act of pre-organizing your thoughts removes almost all of the anxiety of improvisation. You're not making it up as you go along, you're simply walking down a path you've already laid out in your mind. Once you have that mental clarity, then we can talk about the mechanics of delivery. This is where we get into what I call the 5 levers of articulation. Think of them like the controls in a cockpit. Most people are flying blind, letting their emotions and nerves randomly push and pull these levers. The goal is to learn how to control them with intention. 3 of these levers should be kept constant, creating a stable, reliable foundation for your speech. 2 of them are variable, used to add emphasis, emotion, and life to your words. Let's start with the 3 constants. These are your baseline for being understood. They are volume, speed, and articulation. First, volume. This sounds incredibly basic, but it's where so many people falter. When I say volume, I don't mean shouting. I mean speaking at a level where your listener does not have to strain to hear you. When we're nervous or uncertain, our natural tendency is to lower our voice. We start to mumble. The listener is leaning in, catching every other word, and their brain is working overtime just to fill in the blanks. The conversation is doomed before it even begins. Because they're not absorbing your message, they're just trying to decipher the signal. Your voice should land in the room with a calm confidence. It should feel like you believe you deserve to be heard, without feeling like you're demanding to be heard. It is a sign of respect for your listener. You are making it easy for them. The second constant is speed. In our hyper-fast, TikTok-driven world, there is a tremendous pressure to speak quickly, as if speed equals intelligence. It doesn't. Speed often equals anxiety. When you rush your words, you communicate that you're nervous, that you're not confident in what you're saying, or that you don't think your ideas are worth the time it takes to say them properly. On the other hand, speaking too slowly can make you sound unsure or condescending. The sweet spot is a measured, deliberate pace. Think of it as giving each sentence enough room to breathe. This doesn't make you sound old-fashioned. It makes you sound thoughtful. It makes you sound like someone who is so confident in their ideas that they don't need to rush. It signals to the listener's subconscious mind that what is being said is important and worth paying attention to. And here's a pro tip. When you get to the most important part of your message, your core point, slow down just a little bit more. That subtle change in rhythm acts like a spotlight, drawing everyone's attention to the words that matter most. The third constant is articulation. This is about the sharpness and clarity of your words. It's the difference between saying gonna and going to. It's about finishing your words instead of letting them trail off. Sloppy articulation is a habit born of comfort or fatigue, but it sends a message of sloppiness. Crisp articulation, on the other hand, removes all ambiguity. The listener hears exactly what you intended to say the first time. There's no need for "what was that?" or "could you repeat that?" It also has a hidden benefit. Focusing on articulating each word fully naturally forces you to slow down and be more deliberate. It disciplines your mouth and your mind at the same time. So, those are your constants: a volume that is easily heard, a speed that is deliberate, and an articulation that is crisp. If you just mastered those three things, you would already be a clearer communicator than most. But to be truly compelling, you need to master the two variables: pauses and inflection. Let's talk about pauses, because most people are terrified of silence. They feel an overwhelming urge to fill every microsecond of a conversation with sound. This is where we get the endless stream of ums, ahs, likes, and you knows that dilute our message and drain it of its power. But a master communicator understands that silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. A well-placed pause is one of the most effective tools you have. When you pause for just a beat before you make an important point, you create anticipation. The listener's brain leans in, knowing something significant is about to be said. When you pause after you make an important point, you give the listener a moment to actually absorb it. You let the thought land and sink in, rather than immediately burying it under your next sentence. This is the difference between firing a machine gun of words and carefully placing a single, impactful shot. The pause gives your words weight and significance. The final lever is inflection. This is the music of your voice, the subtle rise and fall in pitch, especially at the end of your sentences. This tiny shift changes everything. When your voice goes up at the end of a sentence, it signals a question. It communicates uncertainty or an invitation for a response. When your voice goes down, it signals a statement. It communicates confidence, finality, and authority. Many people, especially when they're nervous, have a habit of ending their statements with a rising inflection. They'll say something that should be a confident declaration, like, "I believe this is the best course of action for the company," and it comes out sounding like a question. They are subconsciously asking for permission to hold their own opinion. This completely undermines their credibility. To project confidence, practice letting your voice fall slightly at the end of a declarative statement. Period. End of thought. Conversely, if you actually want someone's input, letting your voice rise slightly as you ask, "What are your thoughts on this?" creates an open and inviting tone. It signals that this is a dialogue, not a lecture. So, let's put the whole system together. You start by clarifying your thoughts in your own mind, creating a mental blueprint with one core message. Then, when you speak, you establish your three constants: a steady volume, a deliberate speed, and crisp articulation. This is your foundation of credibility. On top of that foundation, you use your two variables like instruments. You use pauses to create emphasis and give your words weight, and you use inflection to consciously signal the difference between a statement and a question. When these 5 elements work in harmony, something truly remarkable happens. You stop trying to be clear, you just are. The listener doesn't have to work to understand you. The meaning flows to them effortlessly. But there is one final piece to this puzzle, and it's the one that elevates communication from a monologue to a genuine connection. It's the art of listening. The most articulate people I know are often not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who listen the best. Because true clarity isn't just about how well you transmit your own ideas. It's about how well you understand the person you're speaking with. When you're doing all the talking, you're operating in a vacuum. You're just broadcasting your pre-planned message and hoping it lands. But when you ask a thoughtful, specific question and then genuinely, actively listen to the answer, the entire dynamic changes. You're no longer just pushing information out. You're creating a feedback loop. You can adjust your message based on what they actually care about, what they're confused about, what they're worried about. This means moving beyond lazy questions like, "Does that make sense?" which almost always gets a simple yes. Instead, ask better, more specific questions like, "What part of this plan seems like the biggest challenge from your perspective?" Or, "Based on what I've just explained, what do you see as the immediate next step?" And after you ask that question, you must do the hardest part of all. You must stop talking. Don't jump in to clarify, don't rephrase. Just wait. Give them the space and the silence to think. You will be amazed at the depth and honesty of the answers you receive when you simply give people a few extra seconds of quiet to formulate their thoughts. That is the complete system. It's a journey that starts with the internal clarity of your own mind, is executed through the intentional mechanics of your voice, and is perfected through the respectful act of listening. In a world that is getting louder, faster, and more divided every day, the ability to communicate with quiet confidence and profound clarity is more than just a professional skill. It is a superpower. It is the tool that allows you to navigate conflict, to build trust, to lead effectively, and to forge the kind of deep, meaningful connections that make a life worth living. It allows you to ensure that the wisdom you've accumulated over the years doesn't stay locked inside your own head, but can be shared in a way that helps, guides, and inspires the people you care about. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about becoming more of who you are, more effectively. It's about ensuring the person the world hears is the same brilliant, thoughtful person that exists inside your mind. So my challenge to you this week is to pick one upcoming conversation. It doesn't have to be a big one. It could be a chat with your partner, a call with a friend, or a weekly check-in at work. Before that conversation, take just 2 minutes. Clarify your one main point. Then, as you speak, consciously pay attention to just one of the 5 levers. Maybe you focus on slowing down. Maybe you focus on using intentional pauses. Just pick one. See how it feels. See how the other person responds. I promise you will feel the difference immediately. If you found this conversation helpful today and it gave you a new way to think about communication, I'd appreciate it if you took a moment to hit the like button. It helps the channel reach more people who might benefit from these ideas. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to GDR today so you don't miss our future discussions. Finally, I'd love to hear from you. In the comments below, please share which of the 5 levers, volume, speed, articulation, pauses, or inflection, you feel you struggle with the most. Sharing our challenges is the first step toward mastering them. Thank you again for your time and your attention. Go out there and let your voice be heard, clearly and confidently.